That's all I've said.
Let's move it. Clerk, 101.
This is an ordinance of the Commission of Knox County, Tennessee, approving the stormwater management ordinance on first reading.
Intergovernmental.
Intergovernmental deferred this for 3 days.
Okay, Finance Committee. Recommended deferral. Commissioner Pinkston.
First 30 days, fine.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion?
Motion to defer for 30 days.
Seconded. Any discussion? Ms. Rowe?
Was there anybody? Yeah, I was going to say, if there's anybody here.
She is signed up to speak on 101 and 102. We're going to defer 101 for 30 days. Do you wish to speak on it? Okay.
I'd just like to say while she's coming to the podium, we are going to have a workshop on this. Is that not true?
We're going to ask the mayor to do that.
And we need to do it pretty quick.
Okay. Ms. Rowe, you'll give your name and address for the record.
Amy Rowe, 4215 Tazewell Pike. My comments are very short. The new ordinance uses much discretionary language rather than mandatory, which we feel is very problematic. Additionally, public participation is one of the 6 minimum control measures of the MS4 permit, yet there's been no public meetings where the public's had the opportunity to comment on the ordinance or the permit regarding our concerns. In contrast, in Charlotte, North Carolina, they had 25 meetings for the public. Enforcement is the key to the success of this ordinance, according to the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation. But detailed penalty fines are really not a part of the ordinance. Chattanooga was fined quite heavily, I think $25,000 a day, by the EPA because they failed to meet all the aspects of their MS4. The cost to Knox County and even the city of Knoxville could be devastating if we don't get this right. The public can be a great asset in this process, and we can be your partners in protecting our water resources. I'm glad you've voted to defer the action on this, but we ask that you consider in the public meetings that they're actually public meetings and not just a PowerPoint presentation that we have seen presented in different parts of the county. They need to be public meetings where we can have dialogue with different people and the citizens can really show portions of the ordinance that they have problems with. So I hope you'll consider that, and we certainly need more than one meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rowe. Okay, any other discussion?
Yeah, I'd just like to make sure that the public is notified, not just through emails. We need to put it in the paper, let them know when it is, where it is, and what to be expected.
Okay, I think we're going to be working with the administration to set up some meetings. Chairman Norman.
I'd just like to thank Ms. Rowe for her work. She has done a significant amount of work on stormwater issues, and she needs to be publicly acknowledged for that, and so I'd like to do so.
Thank you. Commissioner Luto.
Yeah, in accordance with this, and of course we have a lot of new commissioners here that have not gone through any of this process. In terms of a public review of it, much of that language is technical, so what would need to be there would be technical experts to discuss with citizens for that, and then for the legislators, commissioners to hear that. Otherwise, we might be hard put to know what a solution is, because I mean there are answers that you must do, can do. Can you go a different route? I mean, what are the alternatives for that? So just to hear from the public without technical kind of answers kind of leaves the commissioner somewhat not knowing where to go. So whenever those meetings would be held, it would be great that we would have those experts there so that we could hear them and the citizens at the same time.
Very well put.
I think the city and county both are working on that, and hopefully have someone from city engineering along with the county to get together and come up with a presentation.
Okay, ready to vote. Defer 30 days. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Unanimous. Next item.
This is an ordinance of the Commission of Knox County, Tennessee, approving regulations for flood damage prevention. This is on first reading.
Intergovernmental.
Intergovernmental voted 9-0 for no recommendation.
Finance Committee.
10-0, no recommendation.
Do we have a motion?
Move approval. Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to point out that there's some weakening here that we should be aware of. In the definitions, the base flood is weakened from a 500-year standard to a 100-year standard. Floodway is weakened the same way. On page 15, also we go from a 500-year standard to a 100-year standard. We're going the wrong direction on guaranteeing our stormwater issues, and that they're as strong as the city. They're going exactly the wrong direction. For that reason, I either suggest we amend this or defeat it.
Okay, we have someone here from engineer.
Yeah, I'm Chris Granju, Stormwater Management Coordinator for Knox County. Actually, what was done in that ordinance, it was actually clarified. There's no change in the regulations. If you read through the actual construction requirements, the requirements remain 1 foot above the 500-year flood elevation. The changes in the definitions were just made to make the terminology that's in our ordinance consistent with FEMA floodplain terminology. So when people are getting flood insurance and going through that kind of paperwork, they're using the same words for the same elevations, the same numbers.
Okay.
So we're not weakening the ordinance.
That's correct. The performance standard is exactly the same as it was in the previous version. The only state law requires, or FEMA regulations require, that the ordinance specifically references the effective flood insurance maps, and those would be the 2007 maps rather than the 1983 maps.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Hammond.
Are we looking at having a meeting on the stormwater ordinance within the next 30 days?
Yes.
I was wondering if we could have, since this is first reading, it's going to come up for second reading in 30 days, if we could have this as part of that stormwater meeting as well, because I'm going to have some questions about it, and I don't want to take up time today.
It's certainly something that's related to stormwater. There is a requirement that this is adopted by April of 2007, so that to protect against any kind of loss of coverage under flood insurance.
I'd like to hear from Ms. Rowe about this because she also has studied this one and wanted to speak to it.
Jamie Rowe, 4215 Tazewell Pike. We know that flooding is now a very common occurrence in Knox County due to the design storm requirements, the steep slope nature of the terrain that's left in the developable property, the increased volumes of runoff due to increased permeable surfaces, and the inability of the conveyance system, the developments in the downstream, to transport peak flow and volume of runoff. Mr. Wietrich in the Office of Neighborhoods told us this afternoon that no changes were being made to the existing ordinance, with the exception of just the new date, change from the FEMA maps from 81 to 2007. But we feel there are 3 significant changes. The 1994 Flood Damage Prevention Ordinance, which this is a remake of, requires that the stormwater design be developed for the 500-year base flood. That definition for base flood has been changed from 500 to 100. Also, throughout the document, it refers to the base flood. So now you're talking about the 100-year rather than the 500-year, which is more restrictive. There was a county in North Carolina that just recently at their county commission meeting, and I'll have that paper when we go to a public meeting, but it says, please, let's go to the more restrictive 500-year. So it is a more restrictive argument. Also, the definition of floodway within that document, too, has been changed to the 100-year. This is a very important document. It's also a sister document of the 1983 ordinance that has been adopted by City Council for the city. They have not changed theirs to meet FEMA requirements. They left it the 500-year. For this document to be the same as the city's, which is what the purpose of the 2 documents was, that they would be alike and have the same restrictions, those changes need to be made back to the 94 ordinance. In other words, the 94 ordinance could still be used and just change the date of the FEMA maps. That's all that needs to be changed if you're